Hello, everyone. So we're going to be doing some GitHub. We're creating a GitHub account, and we're going to be using GitHub in order for us to save our documentation. Now, if you've been in my class before, I've probably made you make a GitHub account. It's very, very important for you to be knowledgeable about GitHub and how it could benefit you in your career, and also how you can use it in order to save documents, code, and organize yourself. GitHub is a very good tool for you to display on your resume. If you have a solid GitHub, when you're applying for jobs, people do look at your GitHub and can be very impressed if you have solid documentation or solid projects available on your GitHub. So today we're going to be going through how to use GitHub and how we're going to set up our repository for this class. All right, so we're going to sign in. If you guys don't have an account, you're going to have to sign up. All right. I guess I'll do it with the passkey. I think I have it on here. All right, as this is going through my passkey, you can set it up however you want. Usually you're required to do some sort of two-factor authentication. All right, so once you're in GitHub, if you want to start a new GitHub repository, what you have to do is you press this little plus sign, right? And you're going to do new repository. Okay? For this, we're going to call this repository, and you're going to be using this one, right? CSN190, Cybersecurity Research Project. Okay? And you want to be sure to initialize it with a README right here. Add README? Yes, we're going to add the README. Okay. So let's see what else we would have to do. Later on, we'll add a description once you kind of have a better idea of what you're creating or what project you're going to be doing. For now, you're going to keep your visibility public. You have no reason to keep it private. We don't have any templates we're using. We're not using any Git ignores at the moment. And we can keep it without a license because right now they're just basically a series of notes that you're going to have. But for your information, this license is really when you're starting to use GitHub as a code repository. There are different open source licenses that you might want to choose. Or you might want to close your project, right, if you just want it to be commercial. But usually, if you're using GitHub, you sort of have that ethos of providing sort of your work to the community and you also borrowing from the community, which is what is the nature of open source software, right? You can borrow from there what has been previously created, and you also give back by allowing your stuff to be part of that open source community. The most common licenses that people use are the MIT license. The GNU license is also very popular. The MIT license is extremely popular because it allows you to keep your stuff open source, but gives you the option to close source, not close sources, but gives you the option to monetize it later on, right? So, but for now, we're not going to be doing any licenses. So just repository name and add the README, create repository. Okay, so once this is created, here you'll have your repository, right? And this thing is the README. So what it did, it automatically created readme.md. So this is just a file, okay? You have to think about GitHub is kind of structured just like your folder system, right? This is the overall folder, the folder that you're putting everything in, and then within that folder are the different files. And the README file just happens to be the file that gets displayed down here. All right? All right, now we're going to set up the repository structure. Okay, so if you're looking at your assignment in part 3, you'll see repository structure setup. All right, now basically we're going to create folders inside here, and the folders we're going to create are research notes, resources, weekly progress, and final paper and presentation. Actually, I'm going to share with you that so that you can see it yourself. And it's not as confusing here. Okay, right here. Right, this right here. This is the step we're on. Oops. Now I lost it. Sorry. Here, part 3. Research notes, resources, weekly progress, final paper, and presentation. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so GitHub is a little weird, at least when you're creating folders from this window, okay? It doesn't actually allow you to easily create folders. If there is a way and you know it, let me know, but from my experience, you actually have to create a file within a folder to create the folder, okay? So right here, we're gonna press a plus, and then we're just gonna ask us if we wanna create a new file. And we're gonna say yes, we're gonna create a file, okay? So the one thing I end up doing, so here, the first one is research notes. I put this, research notes, and remember, when you're working with GitHub, you can't have spaces in between, okay? So I would do research notes, backslash, okay? Now you see how that turned in to, like, it came up here, research notes, right? That's like the next folder, and then now you have to create a file. I'm just gonna create a test file and put test in here, okay? I'm only doing this because GitHub, through this interface, makes you make a file. But what we're really just trying to do is make these folders. But you can't make a folder without making a file, so I gotta make the file, okay? And that's how you do it. This is now a file. The name of this file is test, and what's in this file is just the word test, okay? So now we go to commit changes. When we're committing changes, GitHub does this thing that it makes you put a message in there. And the reason it does this is so that if you're working on code, or even if you're just working on adding different files to this repository, you put a message in there so that you know why you did this, okay? This is very, very useful, especially when you're writing code or when you're adding things. You know, you might forget later on, but if you have these messages in there, it can help you out. Oh yeah, I did this because I needed to, or it has connected to a different file, or this is the latest file that I did today, or whatever it is, right? Sometimes you want to put an extended description. This one still has bugs in it, but it's well on its way. Whatever you want to write in here, these are a way for you to keep track of all the changes that you're doing. So here, commit message, create test file, or just create test file. You really could just keep it as create test for now, because we're not really gonna use it. We're gonna kind of get rid of it once we start adding additional file. Anyway, so you commit changes, right? So now if we go back to here to cybersecurity research, right? We see research notes as a folder. Okay, if I click inside that folder, right, we see the file test. If I click test, it just says test, right? So if I wanted to edit the actual file, right, test. This is a test file because GitHub makes me make files when creating folders. Okay, so commit changes, updated test. Yes, that's fine, right? So now, right, it's just an extended, I've extended that actual file, right? So we do that again. We're gonna do plus, right, create new file, resources, backslash, right, comes back here, test, okay? Commit changes, create test, that's fine, blah, 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 right? And now if we go back, you always want to make sure you're going to go back so that you can see your folders, okay? Same thing again, create new file, right? We're going to do weekly progress, okay? Backslash test. Commit changes, okay? Go back to your home, right? Making sure you have everything set up. Create new file, okay? And then a final paper, okay? Backslash test. Commit changes. And then go back again, right? Make sure all of these things are updating as you would expect them to. And then we're going to do presentation. Backslash test. Okay, commit changes. And there we go. Okay, great. So now we have all of that. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to, I would like you to add the following into the README. Actually, basically answer these questions, right? Hold on. In your initial documentation. Okay. So to edit your README, you go to this little edit file, okay? And then under here, this is what I want you to have. Your name and course information, a brief statement about your security interests, and just that. Okay. So some of this stuff right here, brief statement about your security interests, you can pull this either from the writing you did last week or write something new. It should be short. And of course your name and the course information, just a quick synopsis of what CSN190 is to you. Okay, commit changes. So to be clear, I'm putting these bullet points here, but what I want you to do is you actually write this information. Okay? All right. That is, the other thing, when you're creating your account, be sure to add a little icon for yourself, right? It doesn't have to be you, it could be some image. But yeah, be sure to add something there and create something for your profile. So if you go here, profile, right? Right, you can edit profile here, right? Put your name, if you have a bio, a brief bio, right? And you can click change your avatar, right? Put something in there. Okay, that's it.